What is up, guys? Today we are reacting to how good was Pete Maravich actually, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know anything about Pete Maravich. I'm gonna be honest, chat. Like, I'm Gen Z, bro. I really don't know too much about this guy, but I know he plays for the Jazz and he's a legend. So let's just see, bro. I'm not gonna talk too much. Let's get into it.
Better known as Pistol Pete, was one of the best NBA players of the 70s, a dribbling magician, outstanding shooter, and arguably the greatest NCAA player ever. Pete was playing a brand of basketball 40 years ahead of his time, and played.
So you're coming to tell me that he's like the Kyrie of the 70s? Is that what you're trying to say, basically?
Players today can't even do some of the stuff the Pistol did in the 70s.
For real?
Here's the career retrospective of Pete Maravich.
Bro, I can do all that.
Influenced future NBA stars, who stole a lot of their moves from the Pistol.
What?
Early life and the origin of the Pistol. Pete Maravich was born in 1947, and basketball was in his blood. His father, Press, was a professional player for 2 years in the NBL and BAA, two leagues that merged and became the NBA in 1949. Press then started coaching, and because of his job, the Maravich family had to move a lot. The only constant for Press and his son Pete was basketball, which was a dish served for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. While Pete was only an infant, he already started dribbling, and by the age of 7, he started playing organized basketball. When Press Maravich coached at Clemson University, he would always bring Pete to practices and games, and the two would always talk about basketball in some shape or form. Pete would dribble the basketball on his way.
Bro, that is not nothing you need to do in basketball. Like, that is absolutely not needed. Like, what?
Way to school, while he rode on a bike, and even
there's no way he was dribbling like that.
At the age of 12, he was practicing up to 10 hours a day.
He was just doing shit, though. Like, if he's dribbling like that, he was just doing shit.
So much.
Like, look at that.
Improvising and countless hours in the gym all alone gave birth to some of the most spectacular moves the NBA has ever seen. More on that later. As
he was
a freshman,
crafty.
He started playing for Daniels High School in Clemson at the age of 14. But he barely played on a team filled with seniors. And even when Pete would come into the game, the older guys avoided passing him the ball. The crowd also laughed when they saw the small, skinny 14-year-old on the floor, which pissed the hell out of Pete. However, one single shot changed everything. Pete's team was down by 1 in the last seconds. Because he hardly ever had the ball, the opponents never guarded Maravich. So the Daniels coach decided to pass the ball to Pete. He got the open shot and made the game winner. And it was then that he received the nickname Pistol Pete. It was given.
So you're telling me, wait, I don't want to make anything seem like it's weird or anything, but you're telling me they had footage of Pete Maravich making that shot from damn near whenever it was, you feel what I'm saying? And they don't got the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game video, bro? Like, bro, are we supposed to believe that he really did score 100 points, bro? Like, I'm being totally honest with y'all. Like, do you think a guy really scored 100 points? It has nothing to do with this, but you guys really did that?
Towards the basket. It looked like he was pulling out a gun.
It's cap, bro. You gotta have proof.
And the legend of the Pistol Pete was born.
I can say I scored 100.
NCAA GOAT. After graduating from high school, Pete and his father decided that Pete should go to prep school for another year. Pete was 6'3" at the time, but he weighed just over 130 pounds and could not withstand physical duels at the college level. So he spent a year at the Edwards Military Academy, where he grew to 6'5" and bulked up to a respectable 160 pounds, which improved his game tremendously. At the same time, his father Press got the head coaching job at Louisiana State, which was known for football, but had a minuscule basketball program. Press asked Pete to attend LSU and join him, which Pete bluntly rejected because he wanted to play for a renowned basketball college. However, after Press threatened to kick him out of the house, Press decided to join his father at LSU. Under his father's tutelage, Pete became a superstar and would set records that will likely never get broken. In his freshman year, he averaged 43.6 points per game.
Why? Let me repeat that. I apologize.
Under his father's tutelage, Pete became a superstar and would set records that will likely never get broken. In his freshman year, he averaged 43.6
points per game. Are you serious, bro?
6 points per
What
game.
the
But because of the rules in the
hell?
70s, freshmen were not allowed to play on the
Bro, if
varsity
I could
team.
average that
Crowded
nigga, I
LSU
would.
often watch the
Shit.
freshman games and then leave once Pete's game was done, and wasn't even interested in watching the varsity team. Pete led the freshmen to a 17-1 record that season, while the varsity
the
team, led by
man.
Press, had a record of 3-23. In his sophomore year, Pete was
If you
able to
really
play
think
for the
about
varsity
it,
team
every
and
NBA player
immediately
was their
asserted
man
himself
at one
as the
point.
primary option on offense, with
In their
43.8
city.
points on average. He was the NCAA's top scorer that season, and he repeated that feat as a junior with 44.2 points, and as a senior with 44.5 points per game. Along with 2 National College Player of the Year awards.
How
In
is
the
that
3
even
years he spent on the
possible?
varsity team, Pistol Pete scored 3,667 points in 83 games, averaging an incredible 44.2 points per game. He owns almost every NCAA scoring record to this day, and what's even more impressive is that he broke all those records in the era without the three-point shot.
Damn!
Former LSU coach Dale Brown charted
He could have
every
averaged
shot
100.
Maravich scored, and because he shot many jumpers from long distances, Brown calculated that Pete would have averaged an astounding 57 points per game if his long jumpers counted as
Damn.
threes. A globetrotter in the NBA, Pistol Pete was the most known player in the country by the time he finished college, and he had plenty of options where to continue his career. He was
Damn.
contacted by half the ABA teams, many NBA teams, but also the Harlem Globetrotters, who offered Maravich $1 million to join them. Maravich dribbled the ball like a globetrotter.
Ooh.
He shot the ball better than all of them, and he knew every
What happened
basketball
to
trick in the
Harlem
book.
Globetrotters,
Between the
bro?
legs, behind the back, dribbling 2 balls at the same time.
That was
you
him.
name
They
it,
were
Pistol
the
Pete was doing
guys
it. If he
back
had joined
then,
the
bro.
Globetrotters, he would have been the first white member, but he'd fit right in because of a unique skill set. However, his
Professor's
dream
in
was
there
to play
too,
in the NBA like his dad, and the pistol was selected with the 3rd pick by the Atlanta Hawks in the stacked 1970
Atlanta?
NBA draft. In the rookie season, Maravich was under tremendous pressure after signing a contract
That
worth
jersey
nearly
ugly
$2
as hell.
million for 5 seasons. At the time, the largest contract in NBA history. However, he immediately proved that he is one of the best players in the world and that his big contract is justified. Maravich averaged 23.2 points and 4.4 assists per game as a rookie, which was the 8th
Damn.
best scoring output that season. The second season was supposed to confirm Pistol's superstar status, but he contracted mononucleosis, which caused him to lose
What the hell
20
is that?
pounds. As a result, Pete missed 16 games, and the illness slowed him down to 19.3 points per game. But Pistol Pete would bounce back in his 3rd season, averaging 26 points and 7 assists per game, making
There
his
was no
first
three-pointer
All-Star
at this
team.
time, right?
In his 4th and final season with the Hawks, Pete was the 2nd best scorer in the league, with 27.7 points per game. But the Hawks played
Damn,
miserably
he is actually
and didn't
that
even
guy.
make the playoffs after 3 straight first-round playoff exits. We got the Jazz. New Orleans Jazz joined the NBA in 1974
This is what I heard about him when he's
and in
on
the
the Jazz
expansion
chat.
draft. They acquired Maravich from the Hawks for 2 players and 4 draft picks. By doing so, they signed the local
Damn,
hero,
look at his leg.
considering that the Jazz
happened?
Arena was less than 100 miles away from LSU. Joining a newly established franchise is a double-edged sword, and Pete learned that the hard way. Yes, he was a beloved superstar, and all the fans wanted to see him play. But on the flip side, the New Orleans Jazz wasn't any good, just like most new teams aren't. The Jazz
Damn.
didn't make the playoffs until 1984, 5 seasons after Maravich left the team
What
and their
the
relocation
fuck?
to Utah. But even though he never made the playoffs, Pistol Pete was playing the basketball of his life with the Jazz as one of the most unstoppable players in the league. He averaged 25.2 points and 5.6 assists
That
in
jersey is so
5.5
tough.
seasons with the franchise.
That jersey is
during
so
which
tough,
He led the
chat.
NBA in scoring.
I don't know,
with
it's like
31
calm.
points per game in 1977,
Damn.
along with 3 All-Star appearances and 3
Man,
All-NBA
y'all did him
nods.
dirty at that
On
pick. I ain't gonna
February
lie. Y'all did him dirty,
1977,
bro.
in a game against the New York Knicks, the Pistol scored 68 points, a career high, and at the time, the
Damn.
most points ever by a guard. The feat is even more impressive when we know that he was guarded by Walt Frazier, one of the premier defensive guards of the 70s, and that he scored 68 without a three-pointer. In 1978,
Damn,
Maravich
bro.
played the best all-around season of his career, averaging 27 points, 6.7 assists, and a career-high 2 steals per game. He would have probably led the league in scoring once again, and likely even pushed the Jazz to the playoffs, but he unfortunately injured his knee halfway through the season, and was
Damn.
forced to miss the final 32 games of the season. Before he got hurt 23rd, the Jazz had a winning record due to a 10-game win streak. After Maravich went down, they lost 8 in a row, and their playoff hopes were shot dead. Unfortunately for Maravich and the Jazz fans, knee injuries plagued Pete for the rest of his career, as he only played 2 more years in the NBA.
Bro,
after the Jazz moved to Salt Lake City in 1979, they traded Maravich mid-season to the Celtics, where he teamed up with rookie Larry Bird, who was the first NBA season with a three-point line, and Maravich immediately proved what kind of a shooter he was. The Pistol shot 67% for 3 in his final year, with bad knees that severely hampered his movement. Legacy. Pistol Pete was a basketball savant. He played basketball 30 to 40 years ahead of his time. At the time of his retirement, he had by far the best handles in NBA history, and many of the greatest ball handlers took many pages out of Pete's ball handling book. He was a trendsetter that inspired generations, and if your favorite ball handler didn't learn from the Pistol, he likely stole some moves from someone.
So you're trying to tell me he the Kyrie of their generation? For real? He's
that
really like
ball
that?
Underhand full court pass, Maravich did that in the 70s. Magic Johnson's around-the-back defender freeze and then pass, Maravich did that too.
He taught
Magic like
Kareem,
turnaround jumper like MJ, or readjusting his jump shot mid-air like Larry Bird. It was all routinely done by the Pistol. When he played the game, the NBA was dominated by centers like Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem, and guards like him were unicorns. Other than Jerry West, nobody else attempted that many jump shots, let alone made them with
Jerry West was him, bro.
With an unbelievable floater and layup.
Is he better than Jerry West?
With both hands,
he can't
handles, and the ability to both score and pass. Pistol Pete is most often compared to Steve Nash, a guy who came to the NBA 16 years after Maravich retired. If he played in a three-point era, he would likely average around 30 points per game, and if he played in a better team, he could have easily been an MVP multiple times and won a few championships. However, Pete didn't have the best of luck in his career and life. In one interview in 1974, Pete said, "I don't want to play in the NBA for 10 years and then die of a heart attack at 40, but unfortunately, that's precisely what happened." His NBA career was cut short after 10 years due to knee injuries, and in 9 of 10 seasons, his teams had a losing record. And then in 1988, almost like he predicted it, he died of a heart attack at the age of 40 when he was playing pickup basketball. An autopsy revealed the cause of death to be a rare heart defect. He had been born with a missing left coronary artery. He lived for basketball, was a gym rat all his life, and ultimately died on the court. His last words were, "I feel great."
Hey, chat. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Pete Maravich is him. I'm not gonna lie. Averages 46 points as a freaking player. How do you do that? Like, generally, how do you average 46 points per game? Like, I'm genuinely, James Harden hasn't done that. So I know your competition was different, but it's like, bro, you was him. Damn. But you know what I'm saying? This is the end of the video, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, man. You know, tune in, bro. Tune into the Twitch. But yo, hey, Pete Maravich, bro. I wasn't familiar with your game, bro. I was not familiar with your game, bro. Alright, bro. Alright, my fault.